Welcome. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, or actually kind of going back to my self-development interests and exploring the ways in which stoicism can help improve mental health and emotional intelligence. A little bit about myself and where I'm coming from with these thoughts and extractions of lessons. I am a psychology major who is very passionate about and has been very passionate about mental health and emotional intelligence since I was a wee little girl trying to navigate my own emotional experiences and be better from mental health issues. But also I've been an amateur and long-term armchair philosopher and student of older and classic literature and schools of thoughts. So when I came into stoicism and its practices and thoughts around interpersonal relationships, both with others and the self, I was absolutely floored, because I was like, well, this is a much more even keel and level-headed way to respond to difficult situations. So for all the emotional and experiential turbulence that I've had to go through to extract these lessons, both from my personal experiences as well as from studying and going deep into schools of thoughts and philosophies and psychology around the self and in relation to everything else around us, the universe, the world, and others, stoicism kind of holds the candle to what has resonated the most. I hope all these lessons and the kernels of thoughts that I bring today are not in vain and can help someone else. So without further ado, let's get into stoicism as it relates to mental health and emotional intelligence. So let's do some groundwork and cover the basics first. What is stoicism? I've made a previous video on this, but just to recap, because the principles and practices I'm going to go over will be highlighted throughout all the other points that I'll be making. But Stoicism is a philosophical school of thought first emerging from Greece. Stoicism has been popularized by historic philosophers such as Seneca and Epictetus, as well as previous Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. I would say we also have a modern Stoic. His name is Ryan Holiday, and if you guys haven't read about him or heard about him, he made one of my favorite books called The Obstacle is the Way. And I love that title. You'll have to read to get into it, but I'm just covering the basics for now. Some of the main principles in Stoicism include virtue as the highest good. Virtue meaning you embody qualities such as justice, kindness, integrity, temperance, courage, and wisdom as a means to pursue a life of contentment, fulfillment, and a well-rounded life, really. Another Stoic principle is nature and rationality. So these principles look to understand and accept the universal laws and the natural orders of the universe, like how change is inevitable. And it also entails accepting what you cannot control and focusing on what you can control and acting, behaving, and deciding on your actions accordingly. Another large and very important principle of Stoicism is emotional control and mindfulness. Emotional control meaning not to suppress your emotions, but to heed to them, allow them to guide you to clarity, and then neutralize yourself from them. So in Stoicism, emotional equilibrium or balance is very important. And mindfulness in Stoicism means to be reflective and examine how things have come about in the present state, but also not excessively lingering on the past and the future, and focusing on what you can do in the now. And now, what is mental health? I'm going to speak to you guys simply about this because this is a hot topic, especially in our modern day. I'm glad that the stigma around mental health has been broken. For the most part, people have a generally good idea of what mental health is, but just as a means to define mental health for the purposes of this video. Simply, mental health is the makeup of one's emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Poor mental health manifests as excessive negative and lowly feelings, behaviors, and interactions, an inability to regulate and productively navigate one's deeper feelings and issues may contribute to poor mental health, as well as environmental, social, and physical factors. It's a very complex intertwining of factors really when it comes to mental health, so this is a very broad overview. Good or optimal mental health can present as emotional stability, resilience, and positive affect. Conversely, an ability to transmute and transform one's negative emotions and feelings into productive and positive ones are a strong feature of good mental health. Overall, positive self-esteem in alignment with one's emotional, cognitive, and psychological states into a positive trajectory contributes to good mental health. Mind you, even people with good mental health can absolutely experience periods of poor states of mental health. And conversely, the opposite is true, where people with poor mental health can absolutely achieve and learn how to gain good mental health standing. So really, all of us in our lives will experience the continuum of mental health, whether that be good or bad. What matters is where you generally want to lay on that continuum and where you continually try to propel yourself towards or maintain, even if you are in good standing or pretty balanced standing with your mental health. So more than anything, an equilibrium in your mental health and being balanced assures that you can get yourself back up when you've been lowly and ease yourself into a balance when you've been hyper elated without crashing and burning. Now, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence can also be abbreviated to EQ. EQ is the ability to discern, understand, and manage your own emotions. And at a higher level of EQ, you can discern, interpret, and respond to the emotions of others as well. Low EQ can look like a difficulty in understanding your emotions, poor self-regulation, ineffective communication, difficulty building relationships, low motivation and drive, resistance to change, and tendency to externalize blame. High EQ shows as high self-awareness, effective communication, an ability to regulate your emotions, higher drive and motivation, being highly empathetic, social skills, and successful interpersonal relationships. So I just wanted to show the spectrum of EQ as well, so you can kind of gauge where you are or have just a better understanding and, seeing it in yourself. This is not to call anyone out. This is simply to make more comprehensive and digestible understandings of what EQ is and what it looks like. I'm really here to help show how stoicism can help guide improvement in EQ. So just because you're an introvert does not mean that you have low EQ. You can be an introvert and have high EQ, and you can also be an extrovert and have low EQ. It's not as dogmatic and concrete as you would think, but your ability to manage your emotions and use your emotional understanding to deepen your relationships shows high EQ and is valuable in achieving healthy well-being both with yourself and with others. So now the big question: how does stoicism improve your mental health and emotional intelligence? Number one, stoicism provides highly effective introspective tools. The first being journaling. So stoicists, both present and historic, have engaged in journaling and encouraged the practice of journaling as it allows for a high level of reflection to be done for both your internal inventory, mentally and emotionally. It allows you to write your thoughts and reactions, see them for what they are, and reflect on their purpose and what areas may need some amendment and transformation. So journaling helps with your mental health by means of providing you with a way of emotional release. So this emotional release happens when you write your thoughts and feelings down, make them concrete and comprehensible so that you can see them for what they are and understand and not have them sit in your body. They are out there, you've made them concrete and externalized so they do not stay internalized. It also helps with your emotional intelligence because when you allow yourself to write your emotions and thoughts and reflections upon how you've been acting and the way you've been behaving and feeling, once you reflect on them and read them back, you can also start to recognize patterns in your emotions and behaviors, which helps improve your EQ in terms of having emotional discernment over your reflections. Meditation is another tool provided and encouraged in Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius's journal itself is called Meditation. So if you guys haven't read it already, it's fantastic. Meditation as being another form, in addition to journaling, of self-reflection and examination. So to sit with yourself and force yourself to reckon with your emotions, feelings, reactions, and thoughts is a powerful way to gain clarification and direct your own motives and actions into productive, virtuous, and conducive ones. There's also premeditatum malorum, I hope I have said that correctly, which is a stoic exercise of preparing for adversity or what lays ahead. It's a tool used to imagine what issues might come up in the future, where you cognize and literally just sit with yourself and imagine the situations that could go wrong, the setbacks and challenges that may come, so that you can mentally, emotionally, and physically prepare for them. So meditation helps your mental health as a means of stress reduction, really. When you're allowing yourself to be mindful of the matters boggling your mind and the issues that can come up, and you allow yourself to have those things come to the surface and make peace with them, this can help you move into a state of ease with the situations and the adversities and accepting them for what they are, and then going ahead and accepting what you can't control, but focusing on what you can control, as I said before, and allowing you to prepare for what you can do to improve the situation on your end. Meditation also helps with greater emotional regulation, which helps with your mental health as well, because when you can prepare yourself for that adversity and setback, then you can gain control over them and redirect them into more productive and healthier ways of being and reacting. And of course, meditation helps with your emotional intelligence as well, as meditation provides you an exercise to observe and understand your own emotions and reflect upon them without immediate reactivity. So this allows you to kind of take a step back, see your emotions for what they are again, and manage and regulate them before you can actually choose to respond and react. And lastly, on the stoic introspective tools provided, there is a provision of virtues and values in stoicism that is extremely useful to both your mental health and your emotional intelligence. So the ideals and virtues of stoicism are provided in order to ground you in the ideals and qualities that you want to embody and aim for. As said before, virtues such as justice, kindness, integrity, temperance, courage, and wisdom are the principles and virtues that need to be strived for. As long as you keep these virtues and ideals at the back of your head, you can remember to bring yourself back to these ideals. So all of these contribute to an improved mental health, because when you cultivate the virtues such as justice, kindness, and integrity, it provides a sense of purpose and direction in life to strive for, positively impacting well-being and satisfaction with the self. Virtuous behaviors also foster positive interactions and relationships with others. And having healthy relationships and a healthy social circle contributes to improved emotional well-being as well. And all of these principles and virtues overall help with your emotional intelligence, because when you put these virtues into practice with being kind and justice, for example, you put yourself in the emotional shoes of others and think about what ways others want to be treated, mainly with kindness and respect. So you come to an understanding of what they need to feel loved and cared for, as well as attended to. So namely, with the virtues such as kindness, integrity, justice, and all of that, those socially orientated virtues, those virtues increase your social awareness of emotional needs. Stoicism also teaches you to be less reactive and more responsive. With the introspective tools at hand, Stoicism provides you with a means to take pause, take a step back, and think about how to proceed with the situation. Reactivity means you're providing your most instinctual comeback to a situation, often met with anger, impulsiveness, outbursts that can lead to not being able to take back the things you've said or done. But when you actually take a step back first before reacting, you allow yourself time to think about the best possible outcome with the least adverse results. Of course, sometimes there are results that no matter what, there's going to be an adverse outcome, and sometimes it's about choosing the lesser evil. But no matter, when you take a step back, you can pick the outcome that will have the least amount of adverse associations and will lead to hopefully improving the situation. So responsiveness, on the other hand, is less of a knee-jerk reaction than reactivity, and instead is being more deliberate, considerate, calculated, and measured in the way that you are reacting. It's taking your time to do those deliberations before providing your response and your feedback to a situation or a person. Taking the Stoic tools into application, once things are journaled, meditated upon, reflected upon, you can brainstorm the most rational and virtuous next step to take and respond from that place of having been calculated and thoughtful and virtuous. So your responses, as long as they are employed with Stoic tools, should be a response that embodies integrity, justice, level-headedness, and with the best possible outcome for all parties involved. I believe that when you do apply Stoic principles, the response should be less of a you versus me situation and response, and more of a us versus the situation and the frustration kind of response. So in application, Stoicism should then provide you the tools to navigate and take inventory of your emotional and mental reactions to a situation, heed to them, and then alchemize them into a response that is integral, fair, considerate, and mindful of the situation as a whole. So if you do find yourself going up against a wall of a situation that is more reactive than it is responsive, and your responsiveness is always being met with reactivity, then another Stoic tool is you accept what you cannot control and focus on what you can, and you remove yourself from the situation. That's another go-to response of detachment, placed in both spirituality, but especially Stoicism. Accept what you can't control, focus on what you can, and as long as you were being responsive, but the outcome has not been met with the same disposition, then feel free to accept the nature of the situation for what it truly is, respect the laws of the universe, and simply do you. Lastly, stoicism increases your resilience. So what is resilience? Resilience is the ability to recover from setback, challenges, and adversity. It's also the ability to adapt, learn, and cope well in the face of change and stress. You can navigate and even better, learn from difficult situations and come out wiser, more resourceful, and better able to face challenges in the future. And so how does stoicism improve your resilience, thereby improving your mental health and emotional intelligence? With all the tools and principles provided by stoicism in mind. Resilience is developed when you reflect and meditate upon difficult situations and find what you can learn from them. Accept what you cannot control and focus on what you can control, and redirect your energy and actions into endeavors that can help move yourself, others, and the situation into a better and improved place. Essentially, all the Stoic principles and exercises and tools provided, when they are embodied and in application, you learn to stand your ground in difficulties, and when needed, move to places where growth, improvement, and integrity can be had. If you've made it to this part of the video, I am grateful, and I hope that some part of it was useful for you guys in any sort of way. I was kind of toying with the idea of this video for the last few days, but particularly this morning I was propelled to do it as I was fermenting in bed, a little bit upsetty about a situation that has come up, but then realizing that I have acquired and amassed this very useful toolkit, especially with the help of Stoicism, to help guide me in situations exactly for this. So if I can, make a little big sis advice video about this, make it more accessible, digestible, and comprehensible, then of course I will. My only hope for this video is that it could help anyone alchemize any situation, take the lens of a school of thought and philosophical way of being that I find extremely valuable, and use it to do good for themselves and others as well. So I might do a classical literature or philosophy series in the future, which I think could be really fun. But until then, see you guys in the next video.